Welcome to the Write Good Books podcast, the audio companion to WriteGoodBooks.com, with your host Jason Bougger.
We are back at the podcast. I'm Jason, joined again by our co-host Scott Michael Childers. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Me too. It's a good day, and it's nice and rainy out most of the week.
If you're into that sort of thing.
That puts me in an awesome mood. It makes me feel like it's fall, and I do my best writing in October. So,
well then.
That's always fun. I was thinking today, let's talk about the hunt for the agent.
So a spy thriller.
A spy thriller. That's a good way to put it, because it does take some kind of strategies, I suppose, and I hope we can help you with the strategies here. I personally have not been successful in this, so I'll kind of share through the process I've went through when I'm hunting agents, and I plan to start doing the queries again in a couple of months when I'm done with my book. I guess the first thing you want to do is know why you need an agent. If you need an agent, decide if you want an agent.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a traditional publisher, you don't necessarily need an agent, but if you're looking for a big 5 publisher, you almost certainly do need an agent.
Yes.
If you're looking for a small press, you might not. If you're looking to self-publish, you won't. You'll be your own agent. So I think I'd like to start with how to find an agent, mostly. When you look for an agent, in most cases, you're marketing your book. You're not marketing yourself as an author at this point. You have to have your book that you're trying to get an agent to represent. I use querytracker.net is a good site. They have a free version and a pay version. I've also used Writer's Digest. They profile new agents quite a bit, and surprisingly, I found agents to query on Twitter.
Oh,
there's lots of agents there. Just go on your Twitter account.
Your Twitter account.
That's
when you're all done.
Slip there,
that's when you're all done with writing. You join Twitter.
Yeah, that's when you go small press. Side note: I'm very proud of my small press contract. And the other option, which we may not talk about because that could probably be a separate episode, is pitching to agents at conferences.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how we go on time. We might put that one on hold. Looking for the right agent is important. Don't just go randomly pick people and start sending query letters out. Make sure they represent your genre, and make sure they have sold books in your genre.
Yeah, and also let's make sure they're reading for new clients in those genres as well. Because there's some that say, I really can't take any new ones in this genre right now. I'm busy selling these, and that's it.
Yeah, and I said we won't talk about pitching at conferences, but that's what happened to me at our last conference. I was pitching a children's book, and he said, I'm already at my quota on children's books. So I got to just talk to him about other fun stuff for 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, cool.
That's what you do.
So here's a question for you, Jason. In querying your books, we've said query like one at a time in the past, I believe.
Yeah.
Do you do the same thing with agents, or do you send out a blanket?
Oh, you definitely don't send out a blanket.
Okay. How about Afghan?
Here's
Just kidding.
You jest. No, when we talked to, way back when we did one on submitting short stories, and we said in most cases you don't send out multiple submissions unless the publisher now allows it. With agents, you can send out as many queries as you want. And here's why, because most of those agents won't respond to you. So they don't expect you to be waiting for a response, I think, is probably the thinking behind that.
Okay.
What I did when I was querying Holy Fudgesicles, I'd send a query every week and, hope for a response. And the only time I did not was the one agent who wanted to see my manuscript. That's a little different. Once somebody's reading your manuscript, then you can consider that exclusive until you hear back.
You kind of pause your agent search.
Your search. So, should we talk about what goes into these query letters? It's, if you do a web search, you're going to find conflicting advice.
Okay.
So, I'll say the way I do it, and then everybody says do it a little different. I start with hello. a good way to start.
No.
No, if there's a connection with the agent, mention it. If it's somebody you met at a conference or whatever, mention that, hey, it was great talking to you or watching you speak at the conference. Mm-hmm. If there's no personal connection, I don't think they care if you found out about them in Writer's Digest or whatever. It might. Actually, maybe that actually does help, because then they'll know that they're not getting a form submission from you.
Well, and also, if then they know the source of, for example, if you send a letter that isn't quite their area, and you say, oh, I got your information from Writer's Digest, well, then they can go to Writer's Digest and say, hey, fix this. I'm not reading for this.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
So it could help in the long run.
Yeah,
it may not help you, but
yeah.
it may help the agent.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. But anyhow, that's your intro. And then I prefer start with your book. So with me, it was hello, and then a 2 or 3 sentence elevator pitch for my book.
Okay.
And then another paragraph, a little bit about me. Thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing from you, and that's it. Keep it tiny. Keep it 3 or 4 paragraphs.
So you didn't write a whole manifesto about how you feel about olives.
No, I didn't tell them about how my parents like my book. My friends say I'm a good writer. Yeah, they don't care about any of that type of thing.
My 3rd grade English teacher said I was destined to become a novel. I think you're right. That some of that stuff is irrelevant because you're selling a book at this point, right?
Right.
You're not selling you.
And some of these really high-profile agents will say they received 20 to 50,000 with a T unsolicited submissions in a year, so they're giving you a couple of seconds. So you got to hit that. Here's what I'm selling right away before they move on. Now, if you're an NBA star, then promote yourself first. Mm-hmm. If you're just, Joe Blow on the street who wrote a book, you're hoping to sell the book. Don't sell yourself.
Yeah. Unless your credentials directly affect the book.
Right.
So, for example, if you were writing historical fiction and you also happen to be a professor of history at a university, you probably want to mention that.
Yeah, a retired detective selling a crime novel.
It's like, I was a former KGB informant, and this is a mystery involving the KGB. Right. Oh, look, this might be an interesting.
Yeah, that's true. So you got to play it by ear.
Yeah. And if you have a very strong brand in social media.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, very strong.
Yeah.
It's like, I've got 1,000 followers. Yeah. No.
If you have 60 million followers, mention that first. If you've got...
That would be an interesting hack.
Yeah, it would. But if you're somewhat respectable on Twitter or whatever, you mention that in, I would say, in the second part, if you're about you and kind of go over your platform.
It's basically saying, I have a platform that I can leverage. Yeah. But in that case, it has to be a strong platform if you're going to mention that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would not mention, so if I was sending out the next novel, I'll query is probably young adult fantasy. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to say my day job is in IT because that has nothing to do with young adult fantasy. Mm-hmm. I would mention my previous novel somewhere in the query letter at the end. For your platform and publication history. And if you have not been published at all, I don't think even bring it up.
Don't mention, this will be my first book.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I would agree.
And what else should go in a query letter? I guess that's it. Just make sure it's professional, and don't try to do anything cutesy. I don't think cutesy stands out. I think that makes you look more amateur.
So by cutesy, do you mean like colored paper or hologram stickers?
Funny fonts, or putting yourself down, saying, I think this book's no good. I hope you like it. They don't want to hear that. Don't do anything that will imply you have any baggage whatsoever.
Let them find that out for themselves later.
Yeah, exactly.
but like gimmicky.
Yeah, gimmicky.
Stay away from gimmicky types of things, because those sometimes don't even make to read.
Right.
I've heard some say, if I see this colored paper, it does not even get read.
And
it may not even get out of the envelope.
Right, and since most of it's electronic now, don't do any HTML, and send it in straight text, and don't send any sound effects or anything fun like that.
Well, I guess that also brings up, send it the way they want it sent.
Oh yes, every agent will have guidelines on their page, just like when we talked about submitting to small press publishers and submitting to short stories. There'll be guidelines. If there's no guidelines, err on the side of caution. And do not send anything extra. Although I've had some other writers say it doesn't hurt to send some pages, but we'll get to pages in a second. Just for the query letter, that's kind of what you do. Stick to the point. A paragraph about your book, a paragraph about yourself. Thank you for your time. And don't follow up with them unless they say that's okay to. A lot of them on their website will say, if you haven't heard from me in 60 days, send me a follow-up. And then just move on. Send the query letter and move on. There's thousands and thousands of agents, and most of the time it's not that they're going to look at your query letter and say this is no good. They're going to look at your query letter and say, do I think I could sell this book at this moment?
Yeah. Or does this book have a clear selling point?
Yeah.
That I can use, right? And that's going to be the tough part. It's like you're not selling your past history. You're not selling Bob and Jane, so-and-so. You're selling plot and boom.
Yeah.
You're looking for, this is the selling point, the blurb in the catalog type of thing.
Yeah. And most of these agents have relationships with the publishers, so they know what the publisher's looking for. They'll see that in your query letter. And as writers, we have no control over that. And following trends is a futile effort because the stuff that's trends now is 2 or 3 years old, in the publishing process. And if you want to send a vampire novel in now, then you're probably 10 years out of date. But
by the time it gets through the slush pile, it might be ready.
Oh, you never know. It could be a new trend again. So that's the query letter. There's other things they may ask for up front, or they may ask for if they like your letter. One could be a synopsis, one could be pages. Let's talk about pages first, because that's easier. They'll say, I want the first 25 pages. Yes, send them the first 25 pages. And
now, question about that. If your story starts with a prologue, do you send the prologue?
I don't know, because I was totally anti-prologue, I think, last week.
Yeah.
And then I pulled out an old short story of mine to revise, and all of a sudden I realized, hey, that starts with a prologue. And then I realized it has to start that way. So now I'm changing my tune on prologue. But it's not what I want or what I do, because it's what the agent wants. And any agent I've ever spoken to has said they hate seeing a prologue. So I would warn against it. And if you have one, I'd almost leave it out.
Well, because that's not the story you're trying to sell.
Exactly.
You're trying to sell the rest of the book. And the prologue just sets a scene of slight consequence.
Yeah.
Depends how you're writing it. So, okay. So leave the prologues aside.
I think so.
Usually.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a tough one, because, I haven't read a lot of epic fantasy, but does all epic fantasy start with one? So if you're writing epic fantasy, is it required?
No.
No. Good. Are maps required?
No.
Okay, good.
Nothing is required.
Nothing is required. You know what I mean.
So anyway,
send, and don't send some random scene. If they say they want the first 25 pages, prologues put aside, that's what you send them. Because they'll know how the story starts, they'll know your tone.
Yeah, and that's the purpose of it. Like you just said, the tone is going to be important, because they might be able to sell certain tones better than others. And also a sample of your writing. There was a librarian friend of mine who was reading a book that got sent to him as an advanced copy. He said, I made it through the first page and a half.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a 250-page book. And within a page and a half, said, nope.
Now, for that librarian, was that actually, were they giving the book more of a chance?
They would have normally given it the first chapter.
Oh, okay.
So
they were turned off early.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is your introduction to your skill, your tone of the word, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So. And we've talked about that at beginnings in a previous episode.
Your first 5 pages matter. the next thing will be a synopsis, and some will ask for a synopsis up front before they even want to see your pages. Others may want to see that with your pages. It just depends on the agent.
Yeah.
And your synopsis is going to be between 1 and 5-ish pages. Generally, they'll say on their query pages. So when I was querying Holy Fudge Skulls, I had a 1-page synopsis, a 3-page synopsis, and a 5-page synopsis, because I had agents asking for different pages. Yep. I think anything more than 5, unless specifically asked for, is too long. I've had other writers tell me they use 10, and
I probably would stick with 5 max, and that's if they're asking for that.
Yeah,
I think the smaller the synopsis, because if you can't wrap up your book's main ideas in a short amount of time, if your synopsis is as long as your book, it's not going to help.
Yeah, when they don't mention, I've read 1 to 3, pretty normal.
Yeah, and this is not the paragraph that you used in your query letter,
right?
Because that's
your elevator pitch.
Yeah,
pretty much.
When you're doing that, I mean, you're not even using character names in that one, or backstories of the characters. So, this is where you flesh it out, not in your query letter.
And might as well go over a synopsis real quick. It's your main plot. Name as little amount of characters as you can. Just name your main character. Give a little bit of info about he or she, him or her.
They.
And
them.
Yeah, there you go. You summarize the plot, though. Hit your major plot beats and make sure the ending's there. I used to try to write the synopsis almost like a short story summary of the book. Try to capture a little bit of the voice of the narration in it, but I don't know if that's a good idea. That might have been too gimmicky.
Well, if they're looking for a voice, they're going to ask for page samples.
Right, so that they can get your voice. They can get a little bit of that in your query and a lot of that in your page samples. So I think it's okay to go totally telling instead of showing on your synopsis, and just don't bullet point it. Use proper grammar. But really just cover your beginning, middle, and end, and touch on a couple of the main characters. And I guess that's it. You hit send and hope for the best. Do you know what? We're going to talk about what not to do in a query and what agents do not want to see in those first 25 pages. I think we'll split this one up into 2 and be back next time with part 2. So check back then, and until then, check us out on the web at www.writegoodbooks.com/podcast.
Cliffhanger.
See you next time.